Hi everyone, this is Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I'm here with a card project for you today. I have all of these stamp sets. These are all from the October Studio Calico release, which releases today. This one that I'm actually holding here is from the main card kit. Has some fabulous circle stamps that you can use as a pumpkin, but also year-round as well, and some sentiments that go for any occasion. They also have this tea time stamp set and this forest stamp set. Now, I love this little tree here. You can actually turn that on its side and create like a really cool arrow background in the background of your stamp. There's also the Halloween stamp set, and today I'm going to be using the snowman stamp set. Now, you can see here that there's all these circles in here, and you can actually build a snowman with the hat and the scarf. But you can also create ornaments. But I love this stamp set because you can actually use it year-round. Those circles are something that you will use over and over again. You can use them on birthday cards. Today I'm going to be using them as ornaments, and I'm going to be doing a watercolor technique. And I wanted to create a window on the front of my card. So I have a circle die here, and I'm just holding it in place with a little bit of Post-it tape. And you can see I positioned my window off to the right side of my card front there. And just carefully remove that once I die cut it, and I can set that circle aside for a piece of scrap, or who knows, I may want to use it on another card. So behind that card front with the window, I actually have a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I'm just arranging my stamps here on this piece, and when I get them all kind of where I want them, I'm going to pick them all up with a stamp press. Now originally I thought I would stamp these all at once. I didn't end up doing that. But you could definitely do that. I'm going to mark that circle window onto my watercolor piece with just a pencil here and just lightly trace around so that I know where I need to stamp my images. Now you can see here, this is where I actually decided that I couldn't get those bows as close as I wanted if I stamped them all at once. So I removed those, and then I inked these stamps up in Versamark ink and stamped them onto the front. Now, I just stamped the big ornament and the Oh Joy at this point, and I'm covering the Oh Joy sentiment in some silver embossing powder. And you can see I got a little bit on that ornament up there. That's okay. I just took a little brush and wiped that off because I actually want that ornament embossed in white embossing powder. So I went ahead, I haven't heat set this yet, but I very carefully put the white embossing powder where I had stamped that large ornament, and then I heat set those. So these are all heat set, and then I went back in and stamped the smaller ornament, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want it. It's inked up in Versamark ink, and once I figured out where I wanted it, I went ahead and stamped it up kind of higher up on that right hand side, and then once again just emboss that in white embossing powder. I'm going to be using kind of like a watercolor, or it is not kind of like, but it's a watercolor resist technique on this card. And then I went back and stamped all of the bows on top of the ornaments and covered those in silver embossing powder and then heat set those. Now I was really careful not to stay, because they were touching the white embossing powder that had already been melted. I was really careful to heat those quickly and then move on. So now it's time for the fun part. I have these Peerless watercolors. Now you can use any watercolor or distress inks or even your Studio Calico ink pads to watercolor with, but today I'm using the Peerless watercolor paper thingamabobs. And I'm just going to watercolor inside of these ornaments. So I'm starting out with just some clean water, and I'm just painting the clean water inside the ornaments. Now I chose my colors based on some of the newer Studio Calico ink pad colors. So this green was inspired by the Limelight, and you can see I'm just adding some color around the edge of this ornament here. Now I want it to kind of be lighter in the middle, so like I said, I'm just adding it around the edge. Once I get the color added kind of around the edge of that ornament, then I'm going to bring in some clean water here and just tap in some clean water to let that color kind of move around. And then I decided I want a little more intense color on the right side and along the bottom of these ornaments. So I'm just tapping in some more color around those edges where I want it to be darker. I used the same technique over on this purple ornament, which was inspired by the Purple Rain ink color here. Once again, just tap the color around the edge, brought in the clean water to move it around towards the inside, and then just intensified the color on that lower portion and the right edge. Now I'm just adding a little bit of clean water to the background where I'm going to be painting in this blue color that was inspired by the glass slipper ink pad color. And I'm just bringing in the color, and then I'm going to bring in some clean water to spread that color out. I didn't want it to be overwhelming, this color in the background, but I did want there to be some color. And then I just once again brought in some more color where I wanted more intense color, and then just kind of let that fade out by adding some more clean water to that. And once I got that all watercolored the way that I want it, you notice I left that O in the Joy clean on purpose. I didn't want any color in there. Then I could set that aside to dry and work on the rest of my card. It's really tempting to heat set this to dry, but I kind of left it alone so it could do its thing. Now I added some stitching, and I wanted to this window part, but I wanted to show you how I've been doing my double layer foam adhesive lately. I bought the foam adhesive on the roll, and I've been loving it. But to add a double layer, rather than try to rip two pieces that were the same size or cut two pieces that were the same size, I just take a long piece and fold it over on itself, and then I can cut several pieces of double layer all at once. And I'm just using that foam adhesive to hold the strings from my stitching in place. And I went ahead and put foam adhesive all over the back of this card front. Now, I decided I wanted a little bit of silver cardstock behind that whole window piece on the front of my card, and I thought I would do it directly on the card base, which is why you're seeing me work on a card base here and mask off the top. I didn't end up using the card base portion. I ended up trimming it down and putting it on another card base, but you can see here how I created that silver cardstock by just smashing some Versamark ink all around the edge and then adding some silver embossing powder. Now this looks hideous when you're doing it, but trust me, it works. I heat set that so you can see that I just did it around the edge where you're going to see this here, and then heat set that, and that gave me my silver cardstock. And then I just cut that down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then I'm going to add it to a Nina 110-pound card base here. That was cut to 4 1/4 by 11, and then I just scored it at 5 1/2 and creased the fold there. And then there's that silver piece. I'm just adding this on with a little bit of tape runner adhesive to my card front. You can see what I mean by it looks hideous, but when you cover it up with the other stuff, you can't even tell. It just looks like a piece of silver cardstock. I went ahead and erased the pencil lines that I had made before. I ended up kind of shifting this piece around, and it didn't end up kind of fitting exactly where I wanted, so I trimmed that piece down and just shifted it, and it worked out just fine. And I adhered my foam piece, or my card front, with the foam adhesive on it to this watercolored piece. And by trimming that back piece down, it allowed me to get that exactly where I wanted in the window. And then I just put that all onto that silver cardstock that I created. Now I wanted to add just a few little sequins to this, just for a little bit more sparkle and fun, and to bring in that silver element once again. So I just put a little multi-matte medium onto my craft mat, and then I'm using my quick stick tool to dip those in the medium and adhere them to my card. And that finishes my card project for today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. You can go over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com today and actually see card projects using every single one of those stamp sets that I showed you in the beginning of this video. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fabulous day.